Most people think ambition disappears because of failure. They imagine some big moment, losing a job, missing a promotion, a business collapsing. But that's not how it usually happens. Ambition rarely dies in one dramatic moment. It dies quietly, it fades slowly, and the most dangerous part is that when it happens, you usually don't notice it in real time. You only realize it after it's already happened. One day you wake up and something feels different. The drive you used to have just isn't there the same way anymore. You're still functioning, you're still working, you're still moving through life, but the fire that used to push you forward is weaker. And the truth is, there are a few silent killers of ambition that slowly chip away at people until one day they realize they've been drifting, for months or even years. The first one is distraction. Distraction is probably the most common ambition killer in modern life. And the reason it's so dangerous is because it doesn't feel like failure. It feels harmless. Scrolling through TikTok for a little while, watching another video, checking your phone again, putting something off because you're tired, relaxing instead of pushing through a task. None of these things feel like they matter very much in isolation. But ambition isn't usually destroyed by one big decision. It's destroyed by thousands of tiny ones. Every time you choose comfort over effort, every time you say you'll do it tomorrow, every time you tell yourself that missing a workout just this once doesn't matter. And over time, those small decisions start to reshape who you are. You become the type of person who delays, who postpones, who chooses the easy option. And the really dangerous part is that it doesn't feel like you're failing. It just feels like life. You're still working. You're still getting through your days. But the version of you that used to push harder starts to disappear. Another silent killer of ambition is burnout. Burnout is different from distraction. Distraction comes from too much comfort. Burnout comes from pushing hard for a long time and not seeing the results you expected. You grind, you sacrifice, and you push forward. And for a while, you believe that the effort will eventually pay off. But when that payoff doesn't come as quickly as you hoped, something inside you starts to change. The drive that used to feel exciting begins to feel exhausting. You start asking yourself whether the effort is even worth it, and slowly, you stop pushing quite as hard. Not because you're lazy, but because you're tired. And that's when ambition quietly starts to fade. But there's a third ambition killer that most people never talk about, and that one is drift. Drift is what happens when your life becomes too comfortable, when there's nothing actively forcing you to grow, nothing demanding more from you, nothing pushing you to level up. And when that pressure disappears, most people don't immediately notice, because comfort feels good, it feels stable, it feels safe. But comfort has a hidden cost. The cost of comfort is stagnation. And the truth is, many people don't lose their ambition because they fail. They lose it because they slowly drift into a life that no longer requires it. You see this play out in small, everyday choices. You skip the workout because you're tired. You tell yourself, that one ice cream bar won't matter. You put off doing a task because you'd rather relax and scroll your phone. And again, none of those decisions seem like a big deal. But over time, they accumulate. And eventually you wake up one day and realize that you've been drifting. And when that happens, it can be a shock because most people don't see the decline. While it's happening, they only see it after the fact. I remember one moment in my life where that realization hit me very clearly. At the time, I was going through a difficult period in my previous marriage, and during that time, I completely let myself go. I stopped paying attention to my health. I stopped pushing myself physically, and slowly, the weight started to add up. But the strange thing about gaining weight is that it doesn't feel dramatic while it's happening. You don't wake up one day 50 pounds heavier. It happens gradually, one decision at a time, one missed workout, one extra indulgence, one small compromise after another. And because it happens slowly, it's easy to ignore until one day you see yourself from the outside. For me, that moment happened on a vacation in the Dominican Republic. Someone took photos of me during the trip, and when I saw those pictures later, it honestly shocked me. I barely recognized the person I was looking at. I had gained about 50 pounds. I looked exhausted, unhealthy, and honestly, I was embarrassed. It was one of those moments where reality hits you all at once, because you realize that the version of yourself you thought you were no longer exists. That was a wake-up call, and sometimes that's what it takes. A moment where you're forced to confront the truth about where you've drifted. For me, that moment reignited something. I decided I wasn't going to stay in that version of myself, so I started rebuilding. I went on keto, I started tracking my food, I began working out 4 or 5 times a week, and at first, it was uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, because when you've been drifting for a while, discipline feels painful. Your body resists it, your mind resists it, but that discomfort is actually the signal that you're moving in the right direction, because the opposite of drift is intentional effort, and that effort usually involves discomfort. Over the next 6 months, the systems I put in place started working. The weight came off, my energy returned, my discipline came back, and eventually, I got down to around 180 pounds again. More importantly, I felt like myself again. That experience reinforced something important. Ambition doesn't come back through motivation alone. It comes back through systems, and those systems almost always require you to willingly step into discomfort, adversity, systems, and intentional discomfort. Those 3 forces often work together. Sometimes adversity is the thing that wakes you up, like realizing you're out of shape, or realizing you've been drifting. Then systems give you a path forward. They give structure to the change you want to make, and the discomfort comes from actually executing those systems, showing up, doing the work, even when it would be easier not to. And if you repeat that process long enough, something interesting happens. Ambition starts to return. Because ambition is not just a personality trait, it's also a byproduct of momentum. When you start seeing progress again, even small progress, your brain begins to believe that growth is possible. And once that belief returns, the drive follows. But the first step is recognizing the drift, recognizing the comfort trap, recognizing the distractions that slowly pulled you away from the person you wanted to become. Because the most dangerous thing about losing ambition isn't the loss itself, it's the illusion that everything is fine while it's happening. You can be drifting for months, years, living a life that is comfortable, predictable, and stable, but quietly moving further and further away from your potential. And one day you look up and realize that you've become someone you never intended to be. That's the silent ambition killer. Not failure, not catastrophe, just slow, comfortable drift. But the good news is this. Once you recognize it, you can reverse it. You can rebuild the systems. You can reintroduce challenge. You can intentionally pursue discomfort again. And over time, the ambition that felt lost begins to return. Because the truth is, most people don't lose their potential. They just stop putting themselves in environments that demand it. And the moment you start demanding more from yourself again, everything begins to change. Now, if this video resonated with you, here's the important part. Don't just nod your head, agree with the message, and then go back to the same routines tomorrow. Because that's exactly how the comfort trap keeps working. It convinces you that understanding something is the same as changing something. It's not. If you really want to rebuild your momentum, you need structure. You need a system that forces you to move forward every week. Instead of drifting, that's exactly why I created the weekly execution system. It's the framework I use to stay focused on the things that actually move my life forward, instead of getting pulled into distractions. You can download it for free at the link in the description, or just go to tinyoral.com/weeklyos. Run that system for the next 4 weeks and see what happens when your week actually has direction. And if you're serious about building leverage in your life, stacking skills, avoiding mediocrity, and becoming the kind of person who keeps leveling up, make sure you subscribe to the channel, because that's exactly what we're building here. No fake motivation, no guru nonsense, just systems, perspective, and the long game. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.